The University of Virginia proves that we live in a virtual reality simulation. Check it out. The University of Virginia School of Medicine's Division of Perceptual Studies has drawn some conclusions that don't jive with our mainstream scientific explanations. They've been studying life after death for over 50 years, including investigation of phenomena directly suggestive of post-mortem survival of consciousness. They go on to describe how they strive to challenge the entrenched mainstream view by rigorously evaluating empirical evidence suggesting that consciousness survives death and that mind and brain are distinct and separable. They then go on to summarize the main takeaway. Simply put, our goal is to expand the current paradigm because we believe that recognition of consciousness as something greater than a physically produced phenomenon is both more optimistic and more accurate than the prevailing materialist worldview. So reading through the lines, if consciousness survives death and mind and brain are distinct and separable, well, that's only possible in a simulation. If our physical reality is not our primary reality, then the only other option is that it is derived from something else and therefore a virtual reality. Now I want to show a panel discussion of this group demonstrating that this isn't something that they want to believe or are proud of finding, but instead they're simply facts that cannot be ignored any longer.
The question is, were any of you non-believers or highly skeptical before you started this research? And would one or two of you care to comment on what might have changed your minds?
I don't know that we've changed our minds. I think we all are fairly skeptical about these things we're investigating, and it certainly opened our minds to see these things. In fact, one of the most profound things that opened my mind is seeing the way these experiences affect people. The profound and long-lasting after effects of near-death experiences, for example, persuaded me that these are not a type of mental illness. They're a real event that people are going through. I'm very skeptical about how we understand them, what their meaning of it is.
Yeah, and I would agree that I think we're still skeptics in the sense that every case that I approach in some ways looking for the defects in the case. Obviously we're open to this stuff or we wouldn't be devoting much of our lives to it. But I think we do approach it with the scientific point of view that, speaking for myself, I'm trying to find out for myself what all this means. I'm not trying to convince anyone of a particular religious belief or whatever, but just trying to see really where the evidence takes me.
Kim.
I was just going to say I think we would all raise our hand, and that's a big part of the scientific approach to it, that we don't come in with our mind already made up, that we really are curious about this.
I might add that we're all just poor empirical scientists down in the trenches for the most part, and don't claim to have any kind of special expertise about what it might all mean.
These findings are also consistent with Princeton's findings. The Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Program, also known as PAIR, studied human consciousness for nearly 3 decades and determined that consciousness establishes physical reality, which is also only possible in a virtual reality simulation. Their findings on remote perception, aka remote viewing, found that there was a probability against chance of approximately 3 parts in 10 billion. So we have mainstream scientific establishments acknowledging that physical reality is not our primary reality frame, which is only possible in a virtual reality. But these establishments will not acknowledge that fact. Therefore, you kind of have to do a little digging and go outside of the mainstream to really put these pieces of the puzzle together. Thomas Campbell has connected these dots in a logical and coherent manner. I highly recommend checking out his work. I wrote a book on this, which kind of dovetails off his work, and I think I explained it in a pretty clear-cut and concise way as well. So if you're so inclined, check it out. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.